Hey y'all, welcome to Back to Basics with Krystal. So today I wanted to come in and answer a question that I get and see a lot of. How do you keep weeds out of your garden? Or how do you keep your garden weed free? Now the very honest and short answer is, you don't. I don't. My garden is definitely not weed free. It's not bug free either. However, I do work very hard to suppress the weeds that are growing around my plants. Now, most of y'all do know that I practice a deep mulch method of gardening. It's actually known as the Ruth Stout Gardening Method. Now, it's very similar to the Back to Eden method. Now, in case you don't know, the difference between the Back to Eden method and the Ruth Stout method is that Back to Eden uses wood chips primarily, and Ruth Stout uses hay. However, both methods agree that no matter what you choose to use, whether it's wood chips, whether it's hay, whether it's straw, whether it's grass clippings, leaves from the forest, whatever the case may be, you have, and this is very, very important to the methods, you have to keep the mulch. Otherwise, weeds and grasses are able to grow through and overtake your garden. Now, the real difference between using wood chips and hay is that hay does break down faster. You really do need to keep an eye on it and reapply more hay as needed. And I would love to tell you, oh, you need to come in every week, every month, every 2 months. But there's a lot of factors as to how quick your hay breaks down. Season, how much rain you've got, those are all factors that kind of play into the breaking down of the hay. But hay does break down faster. And as a lot of people have found, they put some hay down and they walk away from it. Months and months, maybe even the next year, they come back and their hay has either sprouted or allowed the other grasses to grow through, creating a big patch of grass and a huge headache for the gardener. Now, there are some controversies regarding the use of hay in the garden. One being that it'll sprout in your garden. And yes, that's true, it can sprout. When they harvest hay, many times the seed heads are still attached. And I actually know people locally that will plow up a field and then they'll take and put a very thin layer, and I'm not too sure how thin the layer is, but they'll actually take and put a thin layer of hay down and let it set. And what happens? It sprouts and they have a nice hay field. One way to keep your hay from sprouting is to layer it thick. Now, when I layer this hay, and Ruth Stout, when asked, she suggested 8 inches at minimum. And now a lot of people will put the 8 inches, I'm gonna back up so you can see. A lot of people will do it very, very fluffy and go, wow, that's a huge 8 inches. Here's the kicker. It needs to be 8 inches smushed flat. You see what happened when I just did that? We took that nice fluffy 8 inches and we flattened it down to about 2 inches. And at this level, grasses can grow through. So the trick is, layer it thick, and if when in doubt, layer on some more, and keep an eye on your layers to make sure that they remain thick all season long. So the other misconception with hay is that it is sprayed with herbicides just before harvest. And I personally have found this not to be true in my area, at least. Hay is allowed to grow just like the grass in your yard. They let it grow, 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 till the farmer says, that's enough. Then they come in with big, huge tractors and they mow it all down. They go in, they rake it up, and then they let it sit for a couple of days. I'm actually not too sure. I think it's a couple of days. They let it sit and they let it begin to dry out. Then they come in with the big balers and bale it, either the big round bales or the small square bales, whichever the farmer is looking for. Now that I said that, there's actually some farmers out there that want to grow a very specific hay. So in that case, they may use an herbicide to keep other grasses out, so they allow their hay of choice to grow. So it is ideal to go directly to the source, directly to the farmer. And a lot of times you can find them on Craigslist, and Facebook Marketplace is a really great way to find the local producers. When I'm looking for hay, I am looking for first cut hay. First cut means this is the first time that this field has been mowed in a long time. And there is no fertilizers, there's no herbicides, there's absolutely nothing. It's full of what we call weeds, which are just native grasses. I bought hay one time that was full of blueberry or blackberry thorns, and that was a lot of fun. Now I have two other reasons why I really prefer to garden using a heavy mulch. One is moisture retention, and two is keeping that soil cool. Now I garden in zone 9A. I'm actually in southeast Texas, and we are coming up to the hottest parts of the year. It is very important to keep that soil moist, and by covering it with a mulch, we can actually achieve that. But the other thing that happens when you cover with a very heavy mulch, it keeps the soil cool. So the roots of your plant stay cool and they stay moist, so you're not having to water as much. Now here lately, with all the rain that we've had, watering is not a big issue. But I do know that keeping the soil cool is really going to help keep that plant healthy. Now it's time to work this area over here with my Thai double blue butterfly pea. This area had a little bit of mulch put in, but it wasn't near enough. So we're going to have to go back and add more in. Hello, Mr. Smushy Face. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to run a lawnmower through this area. I'm going to run it on its very, very lowest setting. So let's do that real quick. What I would do is I would just come in and take care of my plants and worry about my walkways later on. Now, if you remember from a previous video, I did talk about one of my biggest mistakes this year was waiting on cheap hay. And this is the price that I'm paying for waiting on cheap hay, which I'll never do again. Trust me on that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just simply come in and cover up the grasses. Now I know what you're thinking, is that going to kill the grasses? Yes, it's absolutely going to kill most of the grasses. What's going to happen is the ones that are very strong, they have a very strong root system, they're going to try to push through. And what you're going to come back and do in a few days, about a week or so, you're going to cut those grasses and add more hay. That's the key, add more hay. And you're going to come back, and this is part of your maintenance. This is part of my maintenance. You're going to come back in, and if there's any more grasses growing through, you cut them again. There are only so many cuts that you can do that plant is going to be able to withstand. Eventually, because their leaves are not getting any sun, they're not making food for the roots are eventually going to die out. Some grasses, the roots die out faster, and other more stubborn grasses take a little bit longer. Guys, hay, which you see behind me, we're going to need a pair of scissors. This is just a pair of cheap scissors I got, I think, from Harbor Freight. And then we're going to need some sort of ground cover if you like. Now you could use cardboard, you could use newspaper. I think I bought this at McCoy's for like $6 for the roll. I really like using this over the cardboard because it's more flexible than the cardboard is. So I'm going to pan you guys down and I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing in here. So now what we want to do is we want to come in and see what we can pull out. And if something comes out very easily, like this grass, which is very, very easy to smother out, by the way, that comes out, we just drop it on the ground there. All these other grasses, you can simply come in. Oh, they're pulling out really nice. And I don't discard those. I'll show you in a minute what I do with them. So I'm going to come in and cut as close to the ground as possible. I don't want anything that's going to be able to push up. Push up through the hay, push up through my little weed barrier, whatever the case may be. I'm going to come in and get as close to the plant as possible. This is a tree. I know that. Let's see, where are you at? Yep. Knock as much dirt off of the roots as you possibly can. Don't leave it any way to grow. let's just take a moment, y'all, to look at how beautiful these flowers are. Aren't they spectacular? They're also medicinal. We'll talk about that another day. Okay, so back to the weeding. So everything on this side is weeded out completely. And you see how dry this soil is. You see that? We'll come back and check this in a couple of weeks, just so you get an idea of how well the mulch takes care of the soil. Anyway, so you see all the bottoms are cleaned out over here. Now, if you come out here, rip off a piece of paper. And what I do is I fold it in half. So now I've got a nice double layer of paper. And I'm just going to come in and put it right at the base of each plant. Just like that, as close up to the plant as possible. Now, all we do is we bring in our hay, okay? And we're going to bring in our hay, and we're going to put it right up against the base of the plant. You want to be careful. You don't want to smother your plant out. Some plants are actually okay with you covering the base of the plants. Other plants are not, so we're not going to cover the base of this plant at all. Come in here, push it down really, really well. And the paper is going to help suppress the weeds out as well. Now this is about 2 inches thick right now. I am actually not going to go any thicker right this second. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm not going to go any thicker. And the reason why is because I don't want to smother out the plant. Now you're probably wondering what we're going to do with this whole clump of weeds that we pulled out from over here. I'm not going to go compost these down. I am going to leave them here and let them smother out, or let them help smother out their buddies here. Kind of twisted, isn't it? Now in the walkway, I can pile it up 8 inches thick without a worry. Let me bring you in over here. Hi, Mr. Smushy Face. I'm going to bring you guys in close over here because we have some weeds that have popped up through this hay on this side. Some grasses that were able to push up through the hay. And so I'm just going to remove the hay. I'm just going to pull the hay back. You guys can actually see now what happens when you cover up your grasses. And you can see that a lot of them, if you look, a lot of them have died back. This was full, just like what you saw me mow. This was full a week ago. This has only been done a week. So we're going to pull these grasses back, and we can see that their bases are very, very weak. They're very weak. They're yellow. Pull you. Very hard working with this kitty cat here. Ooh, spider. I will leave you alone, Mr. Wolf Spider. I want you to go eat lots of bugs. Okay, so we can easily, you can see, we can easily pull these out. You can pull or you can cut. You look how easily they're coming out. Look how weakened. Look at that. Look how weakened they are. Okay? You can pull or you can simply take your scissors and cut. We just want to keep them submerged under the hay. I find sometimes it's easier to pull, and actually it's kind of, oddly enough, it's satisfying. But like, look at this one. Here's a grass. Oh, Mr. Smushy Face. Look at that. It's just yellow, and I mean, it's trying. It got that up, and if it got that up, then there was hope for the roots. Okay, so we've got all of that cut back. We're going to cover that back up. Now I'm going to come back in here, make sure that is just as full as it was. I'm going to come back in here with more hay. Fluff, smush. Fluff, smush. And we leave those on top to dry out in the hot Texas sun. And I like to think that it sends a message to the rest of them, not even to try it, because we're on top of it. Now, as you can see, my walkways are thicker than what's up around my plants, and that is okay. We'll just keep applying to the plants. So the next step is to actually water this down well. Since we're coming into kind of the heat of the day, I don't want to apply water just yet. Why do I apply water to hay? Well, the hay will actually begin to absorb the water, and it'll absorb and it'll absorb and it'll absorb, and then it'll release water into the soil. Hay actually kind of reminds me of that moss you use when you grow orchids, where you have to kind of rehydrate it. So that's what it really does remind me of. So you really kind of have to kind of rehydrate it. So even with all of the benefits that we'll get from gardening with the hay, the other thing that I really like is that it's just eye-pleasing. I think this area already looks 100 times better with the hay put down. The plants just pop out. You can really see the plants. You can see the flowers. It's just nice to look at. So y'all, I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to keep working, and you're not going to see the finished product today. You'll see it on the next video. I'll make sure that I'll give you an update on this. So I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please give me a big old thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. And until we talk again, y'all be blessed. Bye now.